Hello, everybody, and welcome to the exam technique for the WSET Level 2. This is part 2 of 5. So I'm going to help you through the exam technique, looking at each of the multiple choice questions, and I'll walk through them step by step, eliminating answers and picking, of course, the correct answer. It gives you a good idea of what to expect and give you confidence going into your Level 2 examination. So here we are. So here's your first question. Dormancy typically happens in. So we need to understand that in terms of agriculture or viticulture, the growth of the vine, dormancy is when a plant or our vine will go into sleep. So that is, in fact, during the coolest parts of the year, in order to then, of course, come into a growth season when it starts to warm up. So therefore, we're going to be looking at the coldest part of the year. So we, of course, eliminate summer, which is the warmest, autumn and then spring, and we're left, of course, with winter. So winter is when we have dormancy of our vines. Okay, they shut down and the wood turns, all of the green shoots turns hard, and it prepares itself and readies itself for the next spring. Okay, which one of the following best describes Barolo? So Barolo, we'll need to understand what it is. Barolo is a village that we find in Piemonte in northwest Italy. So it is a DOCG, making some of the most complex wines from the whole of Italy. It is produced from a grape variety called Nebbiolo. And Nebbiolo with Barolo makes wonderfully complex red wines. So we can start to eliminate here because it is not a white wine. It is not a semi-sweet sparkling rosé. And you're left here with light-bodied fruity red or full-bodied high tannin red. And with the level 2, that is the one we're looking at the bottom there. So full-bodied high tannin red is the answer. They're also quite high in acidity, but very complex wines made from Barolo. Okay, so that's our answer to part 2. For long-term storage, wine should be kept. So there is a section in your book that talks about wine storage and service. There will be some questions that are dedicated to this in your examination. They are actually normally the most common sense types of questions. So they shouldn't require too much revision, but please do have a look at that section in your textbook. So for long-term storage, wine should be kept in bright artificial light, warm constant temperature in conditions of extreme heat, or on their side when sealed with a cork. Well, bright artificial light will prematurely mature the wine. That's why we tend to classically mature wines in cellars, dark or quite dark cellars. At warm and constant temperatures, well, cellars generally underground are actually cool and constant. So that is incorrect. And of course, we don't want extreme heat. This will cook the wine, cause damage to the cork potentially as well, and that may, in fact, ruin the wine. So the answer that we have is at the bottom there on their side with when sealed with a cork. And that is because the general thinking is that it keeps the cork moist, stopping it from drying out and protecting the wine from oxidation. Okay, so that is answer D. Which one of the following wines has the highest sugar level? So you have all German categories here of what we call Prädiketzwein. So you have Auslese, Cabernet, Trockenbeerenauslese, and Spätlese. Okay, the easiest way to remember this is the longer the word, the more sugar. Certainly because they're normally going to include in an answer something like Beerenauslese or Trockenbeerenauslese. The actual lowest will be Cabernet, then Spätlese, then Auslese. But you are left here, of course, with Trockenbeerenauslese. And in fact, we can break this word up if you are interested. It will be not in your textbooks, but we can break it up to this. There are 4 parts to it. Trockenbeerenauslese. Trocken means dried, Beeren means berries. So these are dried berries through noble rot. Ausch means a selected, and laser harvest. So this is dried berries of a selected harvest, very small selected harvest. So that is our answer here, which is Trockenbeerenauslese. some of the most wonderful wines in Germany. Next question, Pinotage. So we need to understand what Pinotage is, first of all. Pinotage is a grape variety grown in South Africa. So we need to understand some common characteristics of this. It is often matured in oak barrels, is part one. Number two, typically red fruited with high acidity and commonly blended with other grape varieties. Okay, so Pinotage can typically be found in oak barrels because you find quite a lot of Pinotages being produced as kind of coffee or chocolate wines because of their maturation in oak barrels. Typically red fruited with high acidity. One of the parents of Pinotage is Pinot Noir, hence where its name comes from. And Pinot Noir is typically red fruited with high acidity, so it gets that from its parent. And then commonly blended with other varieties in South Africa, such as Cabernet Sauvignon and Shiraz. So the answer actually here is all of them. So we have that at the bottom. Answer D is 1, 2, and 3. And with these combination type questions, it can be all of them in terms of an answer sometimes. Pinot Noir is best suited to which of the following climates? Now, Pinot Noir originally comes from Burgundy, and it is related to Chardonnay, and they're often found together. Their best expressions will tend to come, therefore, from climates similar to Burgundy, and Burgundy is generally sort of a cold to moderate type area. So Pinot Noir will be suited, therefore, to cold and moderate places. If it's found in warmer places, it tends to get a little bit overripe. So our answer here will be cool and moderate only. So that's quite difficult, but do look at the wording. A says cool only, and that often kind of doesn't, if it's one thing only, that means it's a little bit narrow. So that is incorrect. Cool, moderate, and warm is incorrect, and moderate and warm only. So its answer here is B, as you can see. Prosecco is a fruity sparkling wine made from. Now, yes, it is a fruity sparkling wine made in Italy, in Veneto mainly, and it therefore is going to need a grape variety that we find classically in Italy. So first of all, we can get rid of Tempranillo, as this is a Spanish grape variety. We can get rid of Chardonnay. Now, Chardonnay does make sparkling wine across the world and even in Italy, but it is not mentioned in your level 2, so we can get rid of that. You have Muscat. Now, Muscat does make sparkling wine, but that makes Asti, which is a sweet sparkling wine. So we're left with this top grape, which is Glera, which is the grape variety today of most Prosecco. Okay. Which of the following statements is true? So we need to find the 3 false ones here to therefore be left with the true one. So first of all, we have Riesling at the top, is usually often oak matured. Riesling is an aromatic, and when grape varieties are aromatic, normally they are not oak matured because that may diminish their aromatic capability. So in fact, Rieslings are not oak matured, so we can get rid of that one. Next one is sparkling wines are only made from white grapes. We actually only need the juice from the grapes. It doesn't really matter with the color of the grapes. So we only require the juice, therefore we can make wine from any type of grapes. So there we go, we can get rid of that one, sparkling wines, because champagne, for instance, is mainly made from black grapes. Sweet wines are made from white and black grapes. Okay, interesting. We'll get to that in a second. Fortified wines are always sweet. Now, with that last one at the bottom, it's very tempting to accept that as an answer because port, for instance, is nearly always sweet and it's a fortified wine. However, sherry is a fortified wine as well, and you can get dry sherries such as Fino and Manzanilla, and also sweet ones. But because you can get dry, we get rid of that. So our answer here is sweet wines are made from white and black grapes. You can find sweet wines being made in red styles, sort of in Valpolicella, for example, and of course, typically from white grapes. The most age-worthy and full-bodied styles of New Zealand Pinot Noir are found in. So this requires to know a little bit of information about New Zealand. Pinot Noir is the most grown black grape variety of New Zealand, and it is found in all of those areas. But down in the southern part of the South Island is a wonderful continental climate that is able to get brilliant sunlight and the best out of the grapes, therefore making the most fullest expressions of Pinot Noir. Martinborough and Marlborough in the middle are some of the coolest parts of it, and they tend to produce more lighter expressions mostly. There are some wonderful wines, however, in both of those. Hawke's Bay, there isn't much Pinot Noir, but it can make some decent stuff. But it's not the right answer. But classically, it is Central Otago. So that's in the southern part of the southern island, and it does make relatively high alcohol and full-bodied expressions of Pinot Noir. And then we have another question here. This is our final question on part 2. So Pauillac differs in style from Saint-Emilion because you are required to know that both of these are towns or villages within Bordeaux, and they produce classic Bordeaux wines. Now, it is required to understand that Pauillac is a Cabernet Sauvignon dominated style, and Saint-Emilion is a Merlot dominated style, but they both produce red wine. So you can get rid of the fact that it is a white wine. They both are typically matured in oak, so therefore this is not a differing factor. And the tannins tend to be a lot lower. Now, the tannins, it really does depend, and that's quite a generic answer. But you are left here with C, which is Cabernet Sauvignon is the dominant variety. And that is because the left bank has more gravelly soils, which are more famous and more suitable to Cabernet Sauvignon, whereas Saint-Emilion is much more about Merlot. In fact, there's very little amounts of Cabernet Sauvignon there. Both of them can have quite high tannin levels, so that's where that is a little bit different. Answer D. Okay, so that is the end of part 2. I do hope you found it useful. Please go along to part 3 and have a look at our next set of 10 questions. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can get in touch via the social media at the bottom of every slide, or you can get in touch direct at www.winewithjimmy.com by emailing info@winewithjimmy.com. I've been Jimmy Smith. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.